here and there. But overall, I mean, you know, you get yourself in a lot of trouble if you draw too many of these abrupt decays, the therapies, whatever else.
You have the reclamation stage, which does not hinder your game plan as much as abrupt decay.
Yeah, it does.
Because you can still, it's still a creature.
It's still 2/1, still draws a card from Glimpse, still adds a mana with Gaze Cradle,
But
still gets in there with the
abrupt decay doesn't do anything.
No, I mean, well, its fail case is much worse. Yeah. But I mean, a very important card. I know that the full 4 copies are sitting in Knub's sideboard. Obviously, respecting miracles, you've got to be able to kill the counterbalance. You know, an active countertop is just absolute murder against elves.
I remember the card when I was playing miracles. The card I kept some counter spells and some disenchants for choke.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the card I was feeling the most in elves. The rest doesn't matter so much.
Yeah. You're not worried about it. You can
I don't care
there.
if they kill my my counterbalance. No. I just don't want choke to be in play because that's the big problem.
You can see these blokes having a bit of a chat in this feature area. Obviously, everyone very happy to be here today in beautiful Annecy to play Legacy. It's not often that we get these big sort of tournaments coming out in Europe for people to play. No, still shuffling up his deck, and we're going to get to game number 3 before very much long. Oh, we're going to see the big pile. Oh, the big pile shuffle from Pierre Malin as well. Oh my goodness me. Certainly taking his time and getting ready here. But really, the Elves deck, looking to get on the front foot very early, needs to have a nice aggressive, proactive, well, not necessarily aggressive, but proactive start. You know, with a solid board presence before the opponent can, you know, disrupt too much. Other cards the Elf deck has to worry about, of course, things like Toxic Deluge, any Pyroclasm effects, Engineered Plague, another big worry as well.
No sharpshooter.
No sharpshooters, no, that's right. But I think Knub will be really happy enough knowing that you know, these black-based answers aren't going to be something he has to worry about in game number 3 here. As for Melin, I mean, he just wants as many silver bullets, as many ways to disrupt his opponent as possible. And right now, it doesn't look like he's happy with that opening 7.
Is that 6/7, or did he just mulligan? I think it was 6.
Oh, he's mulligan already. Yep. So he's having a scry, and that's going to go straight down. And here we have Wywood Symbiote kicking things off for Knub. So the Symbiote, really another card that has a huge target painted on its head because of the things it enables the Elf deck to do here. A card that's tricky to evaluate when you look at it to begin with, but something that really pushes the Elf deck over the top. And Smother of Runes here for Pierre Malin.
This is not actually the first creature you want to play. Symbiote is not.
No, you want to be able to put it, play it and then activate it more or less straight away. Sylvan Library, the Gothic Guy's Cradle.
Is that like turn 2?
Oh yeah, oops. Knub has sort of gotten a little bit ahead of himself here and accidentally played 2 lands there, so unfortunately for him he'll have to pick those bad boys up. Because yeah, it is only turn 2, so the player's making sure that everything's going well. As we kick it back over to Melin here.
Yeah, I did that once.
Yeah.
I played 2 lands. Like that was a complicated situation when I played a Ponder. Like look at the top 3, couldn't find a land, shuffle, drew final land. Was like yes,
play the land,
did something else.
Yeah.
And that happens sometimes.
Alright, so Forest here, and it's going to power to Green Sun's in for 0, so it looks like Melin is going to go and find his Dryad Arbor here. And there it is. So it's with Knub having the guy's cradle in hand. He's going to be looking to glimpse next turn and really get things going. Quirion, Heritage Druid, a key piece of that puzzle for him, especially with the Wywood Symbiont already out. But Melar now, after the Green Suns, kicks back the turn. Oh, Symbiont, perhaps coming down for Knub here.
It would be well invested mana since you get it back from.
Yeah, that's a great point. The fact that the guy's cradle basically makes all these free here. So 3 mana now from the guy's cradle, and we're going to see the Elvish Visionary return, a very common play here. And down it comes again, down to 1 mana, draw a card, and here's Virtual Range as well.
So he can't cast the Visionary again. He can bring it back with the second Symbiote. And
we're going to see a Sylvan Library instead. Yeah. And it's back to Pierre Malin here. So Knub with a little bit of a slower start, but still developing his board nicely. He's got I think 4 cards in hand, 3 cards in hand.
But now Linvala is not going to do enough. Linvala is going to be too slow here.
Yeah.
Like Julian is going to play his if he has a Green Sun Zenith, he's going to look for his Green Sun Zenith. And it would be if Pierre plays his Linvala.
Yeah, it's going to be a little too late.
8 mana. So that's
Eversworn Canonist is the play.
It doesn't even work.
It restricts the
Canonist?
Yeah.
It doesn't work on Green Sun Zenith.
No, of course not. No.
Oh, you would need Garak T.
Yeah,
but there's too many angles. There are too many angles. If you place Canonist, then he cannot counter the Green Sun Zenith on the Behemoth.
Well, the at this stage the Canonist was searched for by the Enlightened Tutor, so that's the draw for Pierre Malin this turn, and he's going to play it. But as you say, doesn't shut off the Green Sun Zenith into Craterhoof Behemoth here.
Well, that's still something June has to consider, but that's
there's the hoof off the top with Garrick Relentless as well. Another sideboard card for Knub here in an effort to grind out these mid-range games. Card I certainly think is pretty well positioned against Maverick as well. We're going to see 2 cards go back, draw the Craterhoof Behemoth, 5, 6 mana, 7 mana,
and the
7 mana, and down comes the hoof. Hoof, there it is. All of the creatures getting +6/+6.
Oh yeah,
+6/+6, and that Dryad Arbor, even though it doesn't have haste, still adding a mana thanks to Gaia's Cradle.
So that would 6.
And we're going to see Elvish Visionary return to the hand, and then attack you
6 times 4, 24, 25, 26, 27, 27 and 5, 32.
32 damage. No worries, mate. What have you got? Let's have a look. Oh, Garak in hand as well! Oh, mate, so Pierre Malin with options that fell just a little bit short. So, oh man, look at that. Unfortunately for Mela, not able to put the pieces together to prevent Julia Nub from going off there, but that was a pretty clutch Craterhoof Behemoth off the top. Of course, did have the Sylvan Library, had a range of ways to actually find the hoof, but as it is, Knab goes to 2-0. He'll be very, very happy with that result. And Pierre Malin, unfortunately, moves into the X and 1 bracket, but he can still make the top 8.
X and 1 being 1-1 because it's only round 2.
Okay, so I shouldn't get too
X and 1 sounds a little too good.
Yeah.
What's your record?
I'm X and 1.
I'm X and 1. Which run is it? Run. So you just lost, right? Yeah, I just lost.
And we bring it back to the booth, ladies and gentlemen. A great pleasure to have your company once again here at Bazaar of Moxen, Annecy. The Pro Tour Hall of Famer Raphael Levy is sitting next to Riley Knight, but that's me over here, and I have in front of me here, courtesy of the excellent judging staff at this event, the metagame breakdown. They've gone through the decks. They have given us the numbers on what we're looking at this weekend, and I tell you what, we've got some surprising results. Miracles is a strong contender as always. Grixis Delver has put up some numbers as well, but the deck, the far and away deck ahead of everything else, right?
By very far, but 7.
It's nearly 10% of the entire metagame, which is quite significant in Legacy. It's Eldrazi. It is Eldrazi. We may be heading towards. We saw these cards pushed out of Modern. We may see them pushed into Legacy. What are your thoughts?
Spring.
The Eldrazi Spring. We're into Eldrazi Spring and maybe an Eldrazi Summer as well. Legacy, a format that is traditionally slower to adapt to this sort of change. But having said that, nearly 10% of people showing up here with their reality smashes in tow. What are your thoughts on this, Raphael Levy? Is this the direction that Legacy is taking now?
I think it's new, so we discussed that before. We discussed that all the time. In Legacy, people like to keep their decks, invest their cards, and play their own decks. So maybe some players are kind of tired to play always the same decks, and there's a new contender.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, okay, well, let's pick this up, and also if it's good, it's better.
Just considering for a second, if we want to think about perhaps Legacy being not necessarily overrun, but certainly having Eldrazi having an impact on it. What are the options that Legacy players have in adapting their existing decks to the Eldrazi metas? Because we saw things like Worship, we saw cards like that in Modern. In Legacy, what is there? What are we looking at?
I'm not sure. Like being proactive in Legacy is usually good enough to be good.
Yeah.
So adapting to this deck, I don't know if you can actually adapt to this because there's no real angle to fight. Maybe Blood Moon. Blood Moon is a good way to follow Eldrazi.
Yeah.
But
Blood Moon sort of slows it does slow the deck down considerably. It more or less doubles the cost of everything in it. But I'm thinking
some cards you can't cast at all.
Oh, that's very true, of course. Yeah, Annecy you can't cast with the... Yeah, that's right. We're going to have to see cards like Wastes actually played if Blood Moon runs through. I mean, I'm always happy when Blood Moon's good, Raphael. I'm always happy to play basic lands. But I'm interested to see whether, we see a resurgence of... Well, not necessarily a resurgence, but I think Miracles is reasonably well positioned against it, as long as it draws its Terminus.
As it keeps it on top.
Keeps the Terminus on top, where I think no worries there.
Happens. That's what the deck does.
That's what the deck does. That's right. I feel like it's in a decent spot there. Cards like Swords to Plowshares, they get around quite a number of it's the fact that Reality Smasher with its protection, when you have to discard an extra card, that's crippling. That's crippling against so many Legacy decks. Swords to Plowshare is such an efficient answer in so many settings, but if you Swords a Reality Smasher, I mean, you're still discarding a card. It's brutal stuff. Anyway, we'll probably get some Eldrazi decks on camera for you guys to have a look at before the weekend is out. We're excited to see exactly how that turns out and how the format adapts as a result. But apart from that, we have a typically very, very wide open tournament here. Death and Taxes, Blue-Red Delver, Storm, Lands, Infect, Reanimator, Aggro Loan, Painter's Servant is getting amongst it. All of these decks putting up similar numbers, just about around 10 or so. And then on top of that, all the usual suspects are here as well. We've got all sorts of stuff going on: Sneak and Show, All Spells, Tin Fins, Omnitel, Dredge,
Blades.
Stoneblade decks, Deathblade deck stuff going on there as well. 10 Post. I mean, it's fantastic to see. I love seeing the diversity of the Legacy metagame. I love seeing the way that that all of these people come and smash their decks against each other. I am very curious to see, however, if Eldrazi is going to push things over the top again, as we've only just seen in Modern.
Absolutely.
We'll see. We'll find out. But right now, I think it's actually time to head over to a deck tech. We just saw Julian Knab slay his opponent in no uncertain terms in game number 3 with Craterhoof Behemoth. I was lucky enough to catch up with Julian yesterday after he crushed a couple of tournaments that he played some Commander as well. He was on an absolute tear. It was good to see him getting a win as well in round number 2. So let's check in with him with his deck tech with Elves. Raphael Levy, thanks for your company this round. It's been great to hang out with you. But right now, let's head over to Julian Knab and myself for a deck tech Legacy Elves. Here we go. To chat to us today. Great to have your company. Julian, you're a man who's seen much success in the European tournament circuit. You've won a fair few Legacy events in your time. Fair to accuse you of being a Legacy specialist.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Here we go. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at the list we're playing here. Elves. A deck that is this something that you've moved towards, away from, or are you always on the elf plan?
I've been playing it for over 2 years now, and yeah, I never imagined that I would stick so long to this deck, but eventually it just worked out all the time, so that's what I'm playing.
It's been interesting to hear you talk about the deck while we've been sort of setting it up and that sort of thing. Tell us about the list here, because I noticed there are some omissions. There's no natural order. I noticed you're playing a Shaman of the Pack. I noticed that there is the Packmaster is making an appearance, and some Sylvan Library. So I think the deck is a known quantity in Legacy. So what's your take on it here?
So ever since January, my new take is a more mid-range oriented, as I explained to you earlier, which means that I'm dropping the natural order component, and I'm just trying to really abuse all the mana that you can create through other things, like we've got Rensra Packmaster, or as you mentioned, Shaman of the Pack. And in this kind of build, for example, Wildwood Symbiote is much more important, because you really want to abuse the ability to trigger like all the things of Visionary and stuff.
So Wildwood Symbiote able to bounce your elves to your hand.
Exactly.
Typically we see Elvish Visionary being bounced back and forth, but you were saying Shaman of the Pack can win through Glacial Chasm, it can win through all sorts of things where you're not able to get through a board store. You get up for 5, get up for 5, whatever. Fantastic, right? A really good piece of tech. But the Renron's Packmaster, a huge mana sink as well.
As well, yeah. In the past, when you had like 5 or 6 mana and you couldn't really send it for Krakow Behemoth, now this is kind of the thing that you can go for now, and you can generate a huge board advantage that's immune to Lightning Bolt and Abrupt Decay, which is pretty huge right now, as Shadowspark is seeing a lot of play.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is the key. For the Packmaster, for people who don't know, it's a 4 mana 5/5 champion and elf, and you can pay 3 to create a wolf, and wolves have Death Touch. So a lot of stuff going on there, and a really powerful piece of the puzzle, especially as you're moving towards grinding people out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So apart from that, though, a lot of standard stuff going on: Heritage Druids, Elvish Visionaries, Deathrite Shaman, Wildwood Symbiote, all of this sort of stuff, and we still have the sort of the Green Sun Zenith, Crater of Behemoth, win the game plan as well.
That still happens surprisingly often.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. A couple of other interesting choices. We talked about the Pendlehaven. That's breaking through board stalls all the time, getting through those 1/2s on the other side.
So many 1/2s in Legacy that you otherwise can't really beat, and this way, people say, Pendlehaven, that's just +1 damage. Is it? No, it's not. It's usually like +5 damage, because suddenly all your elves can break through, and it makes a huge difference.
Makes a huge difference. I mean, Stoneforge Mystic is just a huge pain when you've got 5 1/1s sitting there, but all of a sudden, all of those 1/1s are getting in.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a great piece of tech here. A couple of 1/0s as well: Scavenging Ooze, Reclamation Sage. Showing off the toolbox side of the deck here.
Exactly.
Are these guys really integral? Are they sort of flipping around these spots, or are they sort of locked in?
The Scavenging Ooze is pretty much locked in, otherwise it would be in the sideboard, but since it's so good in the main deck, you can just promote it to the main deck and free up a sideboard slot.
Yeah.
Reclamation Sage is the kind of card you don't always need, but it's still quite good, and what I want to have in my sideboard are cards that have huge impact. So I'm also playing it in the main deck, so I can have even one more additional sideboard slot. That's why I also like it in the main deck.
Yeah, I think it has a number of targets, and the fail case is it's a 2/1, which is pretty bad, but still, blowing up a counterbalance, blowing up something that your opponent maybe cares, maybe a batter skull. I mean, we can dream.
Well, it happens.
Yeah, it happens. I'm sure it does. There we go. But let's move over to the sideboard, because this is where the real tech comes out. We're talking. You mentioned before you're sort of hedging against combo quite heavily here with Cabal Therapy, Thoughtseize, Surgical Extraction. So what's going on here with your thoughts with building a sideboard?
Well, it's actually not that much combo that I'm concerned about, because it's been somewhat pushed out of the meta by Eldrazi. So if you think that's quite a lot for the combo matchup, I feel comfortable when I have more. So what I did is I cut a lot of discard spells and some other tools to focus more on the mid-range plan, like the Garruk Relentless, and also like having all those Abrupt Decays. It helps a lot, and that's what I want to do right now.
Okay, sure, but you've still got Cabal Therapy, still got Thoughtseize, obviously still wanting to attack the hand after sideboard. Yeah. Really important to be able to do that, you think?
It's important because the only other option is to play counter spells like Flusterstorm and stuff, and they're not as reliable because they are much easier played around. And this is proactive, and Cabal Therapy, especially in a tribal deck, is always really good for you.
And I think you're wanting to get on the front foot and enact, as you say, a proactive game plan. But there is a need for reaction. You do have 4 Abrupt Decays, a lot of problematic cards, counterbalance amongst them, that sort of thing, and the Abrupt Decay shoring up that weakness there.
Yeah, pretty much. And I usually played 3 copies, now I'm playing 4 copies because of Eldrazi, and then playing Chalice of the Void, which can be a huge pain for you, and that's why I'm just trying to make sure I get an answer.
Let's talk about the cards at the top. You mentioned you've got some hesitation about Choke. It's not really doing what you want it to, not performing against Shardless Bug. As a Shardless Bug player, I recognise I'm not too scared to choke, but can do some work against Delver. But what about the Winter Orb and the Null Rod? Where are you leaning on them?
Null Rod has been a mainstay in Elves for quite a while. It's good against Storm and against Miracus, but also has some applications against, say, let's Jitter. And the Winter Orb is quite a new addition, and I have only done limited testing with it, but it looks promising, and I think I'm really going to like it. It's good against lands, it's good against Miracles. You can also, I want to try it against Shardless Bug. We will see how good that's going to be, but yeah, it's just an overall okay card.
I imagine untapping a guy's Cradle when you've got a Winter Orb is pretty unfair. Yeah, for sure. And the Garruk Relentless as well. I really like the direction you've taken this deck, moving away from Natural Order, moving away from the Glass Cannon sort of win more approach, because people are still bringing in Containment Priests against you. People are still bringing in Grafdigger's Cages, and you'd be laughing when you're seeing them.
Pretty much, like, they still have very limited applications, but overall they are more like a dead card.
Yeah, so, I mean, you know, your Green Sun Zenith is sort of shut off, but yeah, I think a good spot to be in, a sort of, you know, next leveling opponents worrying about Progenitus, whatever else coming down. So there it is. But no, look, I think this is a great, a great take on this archetype, and obviously, you know, your success in the past speaks for itself. I imagine we'll see you around the top tables this weekend, maybe add another trophy to the cabinet, huh?
I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see how we go. Well, Julian, thanks so much for coming in. It's been a great pleasure to chat to you. I know you've got to run off to your next match, but thanks so much for coming in, and we'll see more of Julian, I imagine, around the top tables here at Bazaar of Moxen Annecy. Stick around, more Magic action coming your way before very much longer. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here live at Bazaar of Moxen Annecy before very much longer. Stick around.
Thanks for having me, Matt.